Hi, hello and welcome back to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto and our epic journey through the history of Formula 1 continues today with the 4th round of the 1963 season, the French Grand Prix. It was held on the 30th of June. It had 24 entries, 19 of them took part in the race with 6 ending up retiring. The race consisted of 53 laps completed in 2 hours, 10 minutes and 54 seconds. Jim Clark started the race from pole with Graham Hill in 2nd, Dan Gurney 3rd, Surtees 4th, Brabham 5th and Bruce McLaren started from 6th. After a phenomenal drive, Clark won the 1963 French Grand Prix from Tony Max, who finished 1 minute 4.9 seconds after Clark. Graham Hill ended up in 3rd, he was 1 minute 13.9 seconds behind. Brabham crossed the line in 4th, he was 2 minutes 15.2 seconds behind. Gurney finished 5th, he was 2 minutes 33.4 seconds behind. And the last point scoring position went to Joe Siffert, who was 1 lap down. The fastest man of the race was Jim Clark with a time of 2 minutes 21.6 seconds. Welcome to the Reims circuit in Reims, France, where a lap starts off with a long run down into turn 1, a long open right-hander. Turn 2 is another open right-hander, although this is slightly tighter than turn 1. Turn 3 is next a fast left-hander, which leads into turn 4, a tight right-hand hairpin. This brings us onto the longest straight of the track, which ends with turn 5, another tight right-hand hairpin. This itself brings us around onto the main straight, and that is a lap around the Reims circuit. And here we are in qualifying for the French Grand Prix, coming around to set our first and only qualifying lap, a 2:17.945 second lap. Not very good, however, this is the best I could do. I tried to improve on that, but it didn't really work out for me as it generally does. And here are the previous French Grand Prix winners. The last time we won here was, it looks like, all the way back in 1952, so it was quite a while since we won a French Grand Prix. Hopefully today that's going to change. Anyway, we have Jim Clark on pole with John Surtees in 2nd. Jim Hall is in 3rd, Joe Bonnier 4th, 5th is Lorenzo Bandini, followed by Richie Ginther in 6th. Then in 7th we have Giancarlo Baghetti, followed by Karel Godin de Beaufort in 8th, 9th is Phil Hill, Dan Gurney is 10th, Chris Amon 11th, Jack Brabham 12th, 13th is Gerhard Metar, 14th Ludovico Scarfiotti, 15th Maston Gregory, Tony Maggs is 16th, 17th is Bruce McLaren, followed by Graham Hill in 18th, 19th is Hap Sharp, in 20th we have Joe Siffert, then in 21st we see Tony September, followed by Maurice Trintignant in 22nd, Innes Ireland is 23rd, and unfortunately Andy Higgs is at the very back in 24th, so that is the grid lineup for the 1963 French Grand Prix. Hopefully this is going to be another good race. We had a pretty decent race in the Netherlands. Hopefully that will carry on onto the French Grand Prix as well. And we are off quite an interesting little start. I managed to overtake Innes Ireland already, and well, Ireland immediately overtakes me, but then everyone slows down as a bunch of cars lose control on the track, and we move up into 20th thanks to all that turmoil. And here is a replay of the start. Not much I can say about this because, well, the camera's placed 100 miles away from the starting grid, but anyway, we started off and I managed to initially get in front of Ireland. However, he then got back in front of me, at least until people started losing control of their cars and crashing all over, when I managed to get around and gain a few positions coming into turn 1, which is, well, quite nice. That's something you kind of want to have, really. So, but overall it wasn't a very good start. It could have been a lot better. And here is a replay of Jack Brabham, who loses control of his car, crashes into a signpost. It looks like loses one of his wheels, and he's out of the race. Later on, Joe Bonnier crashed into this sign at the side of the road and lost both of his front wheels, and a bunch of cars then crashed into him, and well, they retired, or at least some of them. This is Tony September also crashing into the same sign there, and he's out of the race as well. Then we see Graham Hill losing control of his car coming through the left-hander, ends up on the side of the road and just decides to retire then and there. Not quite sure why. His car seems to be in functioning order. And this is Chris Amon also losing control of his car, crashes into the field there, and he is out. As we now pass Gerhard Mitter and then De Beaufort, who move very slowly in their Equipe Marsbergen Porsches. And we're now just right behind Ireland. Hopefully we'll catch him soon. And as we come into the final corner, I brake, well, very early. However, it seems that it helps me get in front of Ireland and Trintignant, so we are now in 11th, which is absolutely fantastic. However, Trintignant seems to be faster out of the corner, and he gets right past me. We are now back down in 12th, and Ireland also seems to be faster than us, and we're back down in 13th. Now we move on to lap 2 and still chasing after Trintignant and Ireland, who are about 3.5 seconds up the road. Hopefully we'll catch them soon, although they're slowly pulling away, as we now have a look at a replay of Bandini, who got touched by someone from behind. He loses control of his car and then ends up at the side of the road. He's trying to go ahead, crashes into that field, and actually that's where he will stay for the rest of the race. He doesn't actually retire. Anyway, we've eventually caught up to Joe Siffert, who was passed by Ireland and Trintignant. It looks like we might be able to overtake him, but I'm not quite sure. It would be nice though. So anyway, this is a replay of Giancarlo Baghetti, who apparently had a problem with his suspension, and we see him drive and then he pulls to the side, crashes into the sign there, loses his front right tire, and he is out of the French Grand Prix. We now see Jim Clark trying to overtake me there, but loses control of the car instead, ends up at the side of the road and flips the car upside down. So he is also out of the French Grand Prix. As we now move on to lap 4, a bit of a slide there, but I managed to keep the car on the track. As we come into turn 4 here, very slowly, keep it nice and steady. It's very easy to lose the car through there. And we now have a replay of Jim Hall in the BRP, who loses control of his car, crashes into the same shell sign there, and as soon as he crashes into the sign, his engine blows up. As we now start lap 6 and we gain 2 positions. 2 people have retired, Surtees and McLaren, and we have a replay of Surtees first, who seems to be having problems with his engine. He only has one, and then he pulls to the side, crashes into something, loses his wheels, and he is out of the French Grand Prix. And then we see Bruce McLaren coming into the pits with a gearbox problem to retire as well. So that allowed us to move up into 10th, 11th actually, but as we come around to start lap 9, we gain a couple more positions thanks to a couple more retirements, and I nearly lost control of the car, but I managed to keep it on track. And here is a replay of Hap Sharp losing control of his car and then crashing into Innes Ireland's BRP. They both end up at the side of the road and out of the French Grand Prix as the camera kind of glitches out there. And here's a replay following Innes Ireland. He crashes into Sharp, and again they end up at the side of the road and out of the French Grand Prix, unfortunately for them, as we now move on to lap 9. And Tony Mags is out of the race as well. Hopefully we'll be able to, well, we do in fact get a place, obviously. We now move up into 7th, and here is Tony Mags, who loses his brakes coming into turn 4. They're quite a bad thing to have. As we now move on to lap 12, and Ludovico Scarfiotti is now out of the race, so we move up into 6th place. That means we shall receive at least 1 point if we manage to finish the race. And here is Ludovico Scarfiotti, who is going well, but unfortunately his engine blows up and he is out of the French Grand Prix as well. So once again we have a lot of retirements as we now move on to lap 17. This is my final lap because I've been lapped by Phil Hill, who crosses the line to win the French Grand Prix. Absolutely fantastic. And here is a replay of Phil Hill coming around to cross the line to take the win of the French Grand Prix. He also posted the fastest lap at this point, so congratulations to him. He did a fantastic job. What more can I say? And here we are coming through turn 2 here, where I lose control of my car and then it decides to slide around. I hit the side there, spin around a couple of times. However, I managed to keep it intact. The engine's still running. I tried to turn back onto the road when my engine just decided to cut out, and that means I'm not going to be able to finish my final lap. Well, I finished the race, but I didn't finish my lap, so that's kind of bad. Which means we fall out of the points, which is kind of sad. It was only 1 point, but even that matters overall. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what to say as we now follow Phil Hill to the end of the race lap. End of the I cannot talk today, come on. End of the cooldown lap. Anyway, here are the retirements. A lot of people retired this race. Only 7 people actually finished the race. That's including myself, or rather Andy, who crashed out on his final lap. Quite sad for him, but not much I can do about that now. I really don't understand why the engine decided to cut out like that, but it happened. Anyway, here are the career statistics, and this was Andy's 115th Grand Prix. His best start is from first, has 8 pole positions, has set 17 fastest laps, his best finishes in first, has completed 74 races, 58 of them in the points, has won 35 Grand Prix, 4 at the Indianapolis 500, 6 in Monaco, has 7 championships under his belt, has scored a total of 394 laps, has retired 41 times, has experienced 2,487 out of 3,095 laps, has 6 bronze trophies, 10 silver trophies, 35 gold trophies, and as an extension, 35 podiums. And here is a quick look at the championship standings, and we see Surtees Bonnier, Phil Hill and Dan Gurney all sharing the lead of the championship, all on 9 points. And then we see Lorenzo Bandini, Andy Higgs and Richie Ginther sharing 5th at the moment, all on 6 points. The last person to score points is Maurice Trintignant in 13th, and at the very bottom of the standings we have Hap Sharp, who hasn't finished a single race. Well, quite a few people haven't finished a single race, but anyway, let's move on to the constructors now, where we have Brabham Racing taking the lead of the championship thanks to their 2nd place here in France and their 3rd place in Belgium. Ferrari, RRC Walker and Automobili Turismo Esport sharing 2nd on 9 points. Team Lotus and Owen Racing sharing 5th. The last team to score points are Rec Parnell Racing down in 11th, and bringing up the bottom of the Constructors Championship are Scirocco Powell Racing. So that was the French Grand Prix. Quite an interesting little race there, especially there at the end when unfortunately I lost control of the car and crashed out of the race. Quite embarrassing considering that I really only had to finish that one final lap, and well, I only managed to complete about 1/3 of that lap. But anyway, our next race is the British Grand Prix back at Silverstone. It's been a while since we raced there, since the last couple of races were held at Aintree, a track which unfortunately will no longer be on the Formula 1 calendar ever. As I said in 1962 when we raced there, it's quite unfortunate that it will no longer be on the calendar, but that's how things ended up being. But anyway, that is the end of the French Grand Prix and the end of this video. Not much to add to that, except for the fact that I'm quite confused as to why and how my engine died out. I mean, I did everything I could to not stall the engine, however it didn't really work out for me, it seems. But anyway, don't forget to vote for next season's team, link is in the description. I also have a second channel where I will be playing all sorts of different games. At the moment I'm doing a playthrough of Diablo 2 and Homefront, so if you're interested in any of those games, there will be a link in the description to my second channel as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay sharp.